Thank you so much for coming. My name is Johnny Kincaid, and I am here to welcome you on behalf of the City County Observer and the owners of the City County Observer, Ron and Marilyn Cosby. We want to thank you very much for your attendance. I look around the room and I see the faces of some people who have fought their way out of Is It True Hell. And you know, you don't know where the moles are. And we may have planted them at your table just to catch a little of the conversation and just to make you nervous, because that's what we like to do. We are so pleased to have the folks in this room here today. And, you know, for 2 decades, Ron and Marilyn have been publishing the truth. They've been, they're not biased. They publish articles from both sides or all sides, and we're finding that rare in today's media. And we're very proud of the fact that the City County Observer is able to be able to treat people in our community with the respect that they deserve. It's not always about the bad stuff, and that's why we do this awards presentation. You know, yes, there are problems that we work on in the community, and we share those problems on our pages, but the other part of it is that there's a lot of good happening in our community. And this banquet puts the spotlight on some of that good, and the honorees that you're going to be meeting today are a part of that goodness that exists here in Evansville. Now, I want to invite up right now the legal counsel for the City County Observer. Come on up, David. David Jones is going to share with you a little bit about the what's going on at the City County Observer and our future for the paper.
I think that Johnny probably took half of what I was going to say, so ditto, ditto, ditto. Actually, Ron Cosby ran out of things to say, asked me to fill in the blanks for him, and you know it's unprecedented that, first of all, he would never have anything to say, and secondly, he would ever allow anybody to speak for him. So I am truly humbled and honored to be in this position. I'm not sure why I was selected. We're entering the 23rd year of the City County Observer that's been in business. And Ron and Marilyn are truly proud that this is a family-owned, nonpartisan community newspaper. While the other newspapers around the country have been declining in readership and coverage, the CCO has been steadily on the rise. The readership has been steadily increasing. The CCO was founded more than 20 years ago as a a nonpartisan for-profit publication that publishes an online quality daily newspaper, and then there's a once-a-month printed edition in color that recaps some of the more important stories for the previous month. Unlike its competition, the CCO is free. Yeah, I said that, it's free. Think about that for a minute. Where else do you get a deal like that? What other news media that you can think of, and if you can, raise your hand, is unbiased, nonpartisan, and is free? I thought so. As CCO readers know, all political sides are covered, and the articles are uncensored. The CCO recently has added some highly qualified graphic designers, experienced investigative reporters and writers, and are in the process of interviewing personnel to take this paper to the next level. The success and the continuing rise in readership of the CCO has not gone unnoticed. We recently ended some extended negotiations for the purchase of the CCO by an outside group. However, Ron and Marilyn have decided that they want to keep their legacy as a CCO that's locally owned, nonpartisan, and unbiased. So they rejected the offers. Without the voice of the CCO, what other unbiased, nonpartisan news media do we have in this area? I would submit to you, just look around this room. We have labor, we have business, we have liberals, we have moderates, we have conservatives, we have Democrats, Republicans, and a few striped giraffes in this room. Where else can you go that you're going to get this collection of people under the same roof at the same time, breaking bread together? It just doesn't happen anymore. You folks realize this, and that's because of the CCO. That's what Ron and Marilyn have done. The CCO has continued to this day, excuse me, to operate at a profit. It has no debt. All its taxes are paid, and there are no pending or threatened lawsuits. Moving forward, the CCO is in the process of increasing the size of the paper, adding high school sports and military tributes, as well as continuing the fair and accurate investigative reporting. Ron's going to be backing off from the daily responsibilities and going into an advisory capacity. As you've seen, Johnny Kincaid will be the new editor, and the paper is currently interviewing for a daily publisher. Yours truly has been ungloriously designated as general counsel. If anyone listening wants to keep the CCO continuing as a locally owned and operated voice for unbiased truth, please contact me or visit the Marine Corps table number 3, which is right here. We're looking for investors who are dedicated to preserving this unique public treasure. Thank you.
Well, I am thrilled to just have the opportunity to welcome you and then hand things off to a very capable guy. I got to tell you for a second about your MC, Ryan Hatfield. I met him in 2016. We both made the decision that we were going to run for state representative in District 77. He as a Democrat, me as a Republican. And before the campaign started for the general election, he and I sat down and had breakfast together. And we spent a good hour or hour and a half or maybe more sitting there talking about everything under the sun other than politics. We never talked about our stands because what we wanted to do was humanize the process so that we wouldn't feel like it's necessary to attack the other guy. And we never did. In fact, we had so much fun on the campaign trail and laughed during the forums and had a great time and sparked up a friendship that still exists today. And so I am just really proud to have run. By the way, I will mention that after my breakfast with Ryan, I had an opportunity to talk to Cheryl Musgrave, who was the most supportive person on earth for me. She said, I'll never forget her words, "Don't run." You stand no chance of winning, don't run. And it's the best advice that I never took. So, but with that, I just want to introduce you to my friend and the guy who's going to keep things moving for the rest of the program, Ryan Hatfield.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. It is remarkable how few notes they've given me to get us through this afternoon. However, we're 8 minutes behind. I'm going to try to pick that up over the course of things today, but let me first introduce our special guest, the head table, and if, as I call your name, if you'll come across the table, Senator Vanita Becker. The extremely talented Scott Massey. Senator Jim Toms. Meteorologist Jeff Lyons. Judge David Kiley. Your current United States Senator and potential Governor, Mike Braun. Now, if we could please have Justin Elpers and Joe Kiefer make their way to the stage for the pledge and prayer.
Thanks, Ryan. Just wanted to give a thank you to Ron and Marilyn for the invite. Appreciate that. You always throw one heck of a party. So if you wouldn't mind, please stand. We'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Right over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could just bow our heads. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for your blessings and opportunities you bestow upon us. We ask that you help us recognize those opportunities and that we use them to do your will and to guide others to be more Christ-like. We gather here today to recognize and celebrate a few of your sons and daughters who have done just that. They have lived in your name. They took the opportunities you blessed them with to overcome challenges, to lead others, to make a positive impact in our community. You gave them a seed, and they have bore fruit with which you find pleasing. Please allow all of us in attendance to open our hearts and be inspired today, to be inspired by each of their stories. All of us have an opportunity today to be filled with your Spirit, to be inspired by what someone else did with their gifts from you. Let us recognize and use this blessing so the seed which they bore fruit can yield a harvest 30, 60, even 100 times greater. In your name we pray. Amen.
Let me first start by thanking Ron and Marilyn Cosby for their service in the CCO. Earlier, it was brought up, one of the more popular functions, especially early on, was the Is It True? Many of you, if you read the Is It True, may be surprised to see me standing up here, given that from about 2016 to 2019, Is It True hated Ryan Hatfield. But we've come around, haven't we, Ron? I'm so honored to be your MC this afternoon, and more excited for you to hear from Senator Braun, who in the legislature, we served for a term in the legislature together. He left at the end of 2017 to prepare for moving to Washington. But the Indiana State House is a little bit like a second grade classroom. Most of the time, folks are talking amongst themselves while somebody presents a bill that most of the folks in the room are not listening to. However, there were about 3 people in the Indiana General Assembly that when they spoke at the microphone, you could tell that the room got quiet and started to listen because they had something to say. One of them was now Senator Braun. To introduce him is John Patrick Engelbrecht. J.P. Engelbrecht is the CEO of South Central. Please welcome J.P. Engelbrecht to introduce Senator Braun.
Many moons ago, Johnny and I worked together when I actually knew how to use a microphone appropriately in the radio business. And I was going to decline this offer, actually. And then I realized that Johnny was witness to me getting put in jail in southern Louisiana. And when you have things like that on someone, you do what they say, right? So that's a story for another time. Ask him at a different moment. Mike and Susan, if you'd come on, make your way up here, we'll keep this event rolling. This is a fun event. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation. It's a bipartisan event. Mike was talking to me earlier about how it's good to see people smiling at each other from different sides of the aisle. He's not used to seeing that in D.C. So thank you for making this comfortable and fun and really enjoying each other's company. First time I met Mike, well, at least I've got a couple of applause for that. The first time I met Mike, I was like, "You're running for office?" I'm like, we didn't talk about politics. I'm like, I'm just sitting in front of a Catholic Christian business guy from Jasper. And then he starts talking politics, and you go, oh, he actually has paid attention. So it's interesting, you have this guy from Jasper who starts off and goes up, takes his sweetheart from high school, who's been married to for 47 years. They go up to get an you go 48 now, all right. Goes up, gets a Harvard MBA, but realizes Wall Street's not for him and he wants to come back home to Jasper. And then picks up a business, does some cabinet work here and there, works out of a mobile home for, almost 20 years until his business starts to take off, and then decides, well, this is going well, let's try politics. Serves on the school board for 10 years, does 3 years as a state rep, and then goes to Washington for 6. And now Mike has a full family. He's got 7 grandkids from his 4 children. Business is still going well, and he still has enough energy that he wants to be the CEO of the state of Indiana. So no matter what you think about a policy or a construct that he's proposed, he's done well in his life, and he's done it out of service for the state of Indiana. So with that, we're happy to have you, Mike.
Thank you.
What are your plans to deal with rising health care costs?
Thank you for that question. But before Ron in Maryland, if you remember, it was like 6 years ago when I came down here aspiring to be our next senator, and just to hear what you're doing with your own business, you're still looking forward. I think you made a great move on keeping ownership local, and thank you for your friendship and support along the way. Much appreciated. I don't know how many of you have heard over the years how lucky you were that your health insurance costs were only going up 5 to 10%. Well, that didn't make much difference when I was in the mobile home and only had 15 employees, because we weren't paying much for health care then. Once the company did get out of it, and we had the first 25,000 square feet, still with about 25 employees in '98, and then we grew from 25 employees to 300 from '98 to '08, I started hearing that. And sooner or later, you're going to have to either do something that's different, or you're going to have to keep putting up with it. That would take more than the time we need to devote to this, because you want to know what I'm going to do to make it better for all Hoosiers. Well, just to give you a little tidbit, in that one meeting, I found out how much money they were making on my small business plan. It was about a 25% profit margin, and the agent was getting a 7% commission on $1 million check we were writing. Do the math. I said, well, it looks like you need to be the insurance company. So did that, and when they told me that if you really push wellness and prevention, and this was abstract, turn your employees into healthcare consumers, you can fix healthcare costs. Well, I did it that day. I was happy to save that money out of the gate, and then it's taken 16 years to prove that it was right. We've not had a premium increase in 16 years, and we've got a healthy, much healthier set of employees, and now that number's 1,500, and it's across the country. So that same stuff, if you're enterprising, can be done for our state employees. It can be made easier for small businesses through pooling and association, and when you do it, you're going to have to spend political capital, because that will take a lot to get done. But
I think I can do that. I've been on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee in D.C. and have made a lot of headway in that arena already.
Mike, could you hold the microphone a little bit?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
How are you going to address CenterPoint energy rates in southern Indiana?
Well, that all started when CenterPoint, Vectren, Duke, and many others started listening to the folks where I work, and that was to actually start decommissioning coal plants before their useful lives were over. And in my opinion, I started the discussion in D.C. on sensible climate discussion, started a climate caucus, because if you believe government should be less impactful, you can't just complain about it. You need to come up with ideas. And in this case, we've done it, and we're headed in a certain direction, but we went there too fast. You should have never decommissioned your baseload energy production until you've got enough alternative already in place. What it did is systematically took us from having the 5th lowest of the 50 states in terms of utility costs to where now we rank 35 or 36. That has been a drain on every Hoosier household and business, unless you're in the business of selling electricity. So it's an issue also when you look at the 4 or 5 big companies that want to come to Indiana. I asked some folks about 2 months ago, how many gigawatts do we produce in our state of electricity? Since each one of these new enterprises needs 1 gigawatt, I thought our total production would have to be measured in 100 or more. It's just 20 gigawatts. So that shows you what a big deal electricity is going to be, and it's going to get worse before it gets better unless we figure out how to stop the path we've been on. We want these new companies to come here. Amazon's got a data center up in northern Indiana that they'll barely be able to scrap together enough electricity, not to mention that each one of them needs a lot of water to boot. So juice and water are important, and who would have figured that a state like ours would be handicapped with either? To bring costs down after you've let them go up for so long, sadly, we're kind of strapped with it. We need to find out what the new baseload production of electricity is going to be, and that could be in the future advanced nuclear technology, small modular reactors, could be hydrogen. But the fact is we've shut down what's predictable, and we probably added too much of what is not predictable, and we're in a pickle. That'll be one thing that wasn't even on the horizon a few years ago. Now it's a big deal.
Are you appointing new members to the IURC?
Well, that's a tough question, isn't it, right there? I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be appointing new members to any agency that's not functioning correctly. And where that might be a difficult, I'm talking about the governor's office has a lot of appointments, public universities, agencies, you name it. And I'm going to be fair. I'm going to go into every one of them and see what they're doing right or what they're not doing right. And then as you can impact them by getting people there with a different point of view, better maybe at managing what they're supposed to do, I'll make sure we staff it with someone who's going to make sure that the agency is not the issue and that we do a better job with it.
Yeah, because they also ask, will there be someone to represent southern Indiana?
That's probably the thing I hear most often. I travel, visit all 92 counties, and so I don't forget to tell you, any one of you is invited to visit me on a Friday in my hometown. Some of you have taken me up on it. Ron's been there before. And if you twist my arm, I'll let you buy me lunch at the Schnitzelbank. How about that? So, southern Indiana, northwest Indiana, northeast Indiana, west central Indiana, east central Indiana, southeast are all going to see more involvement than probably what you've seen over the last few years. So, yeah.
Good. What are your plans for economic development?
So that goes hand in hand with your prior question. I'm going to make sure that it's not just done behind very opaque doors. There's going to be a lot of transparency. I'm going to fertilize the field of small business entrepreneurs that would be probably a much better investment than trying to spend a fortune on fishing in the whales that need all kinds of demands on your resources that may take away from a lot of your other normal growth. So you're going to see regional balance, and you're going to see where we look at what has been working, not just throwing it out because you maybe don't like it. I'll see what the best of what's been working. We've got a lot of companies that have come here to bring their factories to Indiana. Good partners like Japan, Korea, many others. We need to keep that. But we need to make sure that we're not inviting economic development that we don't even have the resources to support. And that'll be relatively easy for me because I was in the business of economic development the old-fashioned way for 37 years before I became a senator.
Okay. The next question is talk about plans to cut taxes.
Well, if you had this job in the last year, do you think people were bending your ear or just happy about, say, property taxes? Well, of course, that's a rhetorical question because home ownership is probably the one thing we'd all say should be promoted to the extent you can. And the ones that have struggled most under inflation that we've had created by the federal government, no fault of our own, but we're dealing with it, would be elderly and young couples. And property taxes should never be going up at a rate faster than the growth of our own economy. And it's a little bit confusing. It's an equation. You apply a tax rate to an assessed value, but we all know you pay the property tax bill. And the circuit breakers that were put in many years ago to prevent what did occur just didn't work during inflation. So we're going to make sure that that one tax that would be the lifeblood of local governments and school boards will be plenty to make sure they can grow at a rate that would be at the top end of our economic growth. If you want to grow more than that, you'll have to do it through a transparent referendum that's done in a general election, not a lowly or low turnout election, and that you use other creative ways if you want to put more income. Because every official, when I ask them, would you ever want your revenue to grow faster than the ability of the taxpayer to pay it? We start that conversation off, and they always say, well, no, I wouldn't. Well, that's happened in at least 2/3 of our local jurisdictions. Other taxes, you heard talks about lowering income taxes. Well, that's 1/3 of our revenue at the state level. Sales taxes would be about another third, and then everything else that we get in terms of state revenue. But property taxes are almost exclusively the revenue that runs local governments, where I think government should be most active and most involved in our own lives. Because I found out when I was on the school board and even a state rep, if you're out of line, your constituents will find you at the post office, a Little League game, or wait for you after church. That's real government, but that doesn't mean you can tax more than what the taxpayer can afford to pay.
Southern Indiana has benefited from REDI, R-E-D-I dollars. Will this funding continue? Will you make changes to the REDI program?
I like that program because it's skin in the game. If you're not willing to have skin in the game, to me, you end up wanting too much and you use too much of it. Community crossings. I don't know any mayor, any county commissioner that doesn't love that program now. All I remember is soon after we did that, I had been in, I think we did that back in 16. I had more calls from commissioners and mayors saying, you actually want us to put skin in the game? That should be your responsibility. Well, it is now like so much. That's why your local roads don't have potholes. That's why your bridges are safe. And we've actually increased that. So I think those are the kinds of things where if you use skin in the game, you're going to get stuff done. And Ready grants employ that. And I would like to enable more to be done as long as it's regionally balanced. It's across the state through community crossings and through Ready grants. To me, whenever you're willing to pay for something, in addition to just wanting it, I think you need to listen closely.
Good idea. What will your first year's priorities be?
So when I travel the state, by far, pre-COVID and post-COVID would be workforce. Half of our budget, I think I mentioned it earlier, is K through 12. Another 15% is public universities. And when we're still grappling with how to get third graders to read at their third grade level, and we have some folks in high school that can't read better than a fourth grade level, that means we're not doing well. So 2 things on education. I like choice and I like competition. And I come from one of the best public school systems in Indiana. All my kids have gone there. All of my grandkids go there. Some places aren't that lucky. You look at Pike County, 7, 8 years ago, they had mismanagement in their own school district. Their solution was to close the best grade school of the 3. That would have meant for a county like Pike, you're driving another 20 minutes to get your kids to either Petersburg or Winslow. Senator Messmer and I helped them get a charter school going. I like options because whenever you want to do anything as a sole supplier, that's a monopoly, and generally it'll end up not doing as good a job as maybe what it even did in the past. I want to make sure that we don't push kids into misguided 2 or 4 year degrees when the market only calls for 1/3 to 40% of your kids to go that direction. We underproduce STEM degrees. That's the highest stratum of wages. I want to make sure through transparency and honesty and that we guide our kids in middle school and high school to find out what makes sense for you and where you can find a job in our own county, in our own state, without having to be exported to find a job out of state because you were misguided, or you end up in the basement. And then the other agenda item will be health care, and we've talked about that earlier. And I'm going to go through every agency, and that'll be easy as soon as I hit the ground to make sure it's doing the job that it was intended to do, to provide reasonable regulation and be responsive to the constituent. That'll be enough to keep me busy for at least a year.
Yeah, at least. Okay, very well done, by the way. The last question, I'm not too sure. I don't know. I can't recognize the hand printing. Who is your favorite county attorney?
That's a loaded question. Are you the county attorney? Well, I'd say he'd be my second favorite. I better say it's the county attorney from DuBois County, or I could be in trouble. Are we ending with that?
Well, we're going to do one more thing.
What's that?
I want you to stand up, Ron. Yeah, you. Mind me. Stand up. I think over the years, he has done a wonderful job, and I would like us to all stand up and give him the attribute of being such a wonderful man. Well, I guess that's the end of the questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening.
Other than if I have one question,
what's
let's
that?
see if you can answer it. Can you make the world a better place?
Well, we all need to try to do that every day. And I'll end on this. the last 5.5 years of being in D.C., even there, when it seems like you can get nothing done, we've been able to do it. Been able to do it with a smile on my face and make it a joyful experience. Imagine what you can do coming back home. So we'll wait and see, and we'll make this place a better place.
Well, thank you and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Senator and Susie, if you would stay on stage, I think that we have a presentation here for the Senator. To you, Senator Braun, in appreciation for coming to speak with this crowd today and for your service to the state of Indiana thus far and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
We also have a special decoration for the lawn at the governor's mansion. Your own mole from the CCO.
I got one of those 6 years ago, if you remember, at home.
All right.
I'll take that.
Yeah. But thank you for coming. We
Let's
truly
offload
appreciate
that
it.
down there.
All right.
You know he's not new to politics because he did not take the mole on stage for your photos. That's somebody who's done this a little while. Before we wrap up, we want to award some individuals in the community through their community service and their efforts for Vanderburgh County, Southern Indiana, and the state of Indiana. And let us do that by first recognizing Judge Les Shively, who is here to introduce Senator Vanita Becker.
Well, this is really a pleasure to get to introduce an old friend. A little bit of background on our honored honoree today. Senator Becker has served in the Senator for Senate District 50, which includes Warwick County and Vanderburgh County, since 2005. She previously served in the House from 1981 to 2005. She has served as a member of the Senate Committee on Health, Provider Services, Local Government, and Public Policy. Professionally, she's a real estate broker of F.C. Tucker and a graduate of USI. Outside the State House, Senator Becker is very involved in the community. She's been on the advisory board of the Office of Women's Health through the Indiana Department of Health. She's on several committees appointed by the governor and lieutenant governor involving, like, for example, the ARC Crisis Prevention Nursery Board of Directors and the Healthcare and ARC of Evansville Board of Directors. I've known Senator Becker for many years. I've worked with her on proposed legislation. She didn't come to the Senate with an agenda, either personal or political. Her focus has always been on what is the better course of action for all Hoosiers. He's one of the most accessible public servants I've ever met. How many of you have ever gone to meet your legislature sessions on Saturdays when the sessions, well, it's like going to watch a Jerry Springer program. The people that show up, no offense to those of you who attend, but it gets a little crazy. Senator Becker sits in the middle seat, never loses her cool, always has a smile on her face, and she's there for the whole time. I don't know how she does it. She's shown over the years that she's not afraid to break from the dictates of party leadership or lobbyist pressure. When she believes a certain vote is in the best interest of the district and of Hoosiers in general, she casts it. Over the years, Senator Becker has been a guest on Shively's shoulders. She never dodges questions, always gives thorough and positive responses, and she's also earned the respect of my co-hosts, believe it or not. Senator Becker is being recognized today not for her positions she has held, but for the extraordinary manner in which she has delivered those services to the people of the state of Indiana. Senator Becker.
I I tell you, when a person receives an honor like this, it's a very humbling experience. And it brings to mind all the individuals that have been a part of my ability at the State House and locally to get things done. I want to sincerely thank Ron and Marilyn Cosby and the City County Observer for this award. And I truly want to thank the Evansville community, my fellow legislators over the years, and numerous other community organizations such as labor, education, and health professionals, just to name a few. I also want to thank my many supporters over my 42 years of service, because without them, I would not have been able to have success with legislation such as USI, public education advancements, child care, children's health insurance, home health care, mental health care, and I-69. And I just want to tell you, we just broke ground a few days ago on the approach for the new bridge across the Ohio for I-69. I will continue to serve the people of Warwick and Vanderburgh counties to the best of my ability, and will always do what is best for the citizens of Southwest Indiana. And I also just want to take a second to thank my husband, Andy Garino, because without him, I couldn't do all this. And again, thank you very much for this prestigious award.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Man of the Year will be presented by Greg Schulteis. Ladies and gentlemen, CCO Man of the Year, Scott Massey, being presented by Greg Schulteis.
Thank you. When Scott and I were talking about what I should say today, the Senator was talking about humility, and Scott is extremely humble, so my remarks are very brief. But one thing when I talk about Scott to other people is that I've been fortunate to travel all around the world and meet some very unique, interesting people, and Scott is by far the smartest person I've ever met. His intelligence is off the charts. So I hope that people get a chance to talk to this man at some point, if that's today or a year or 10 years from now. He, along with his partner Ivan, are going to make Evansville very proud. So I met Scott back in 2018, and when I met him, he told me about the technology that him and Ivan had developed, and he was going to change the world, and that will happen. He inspired me to be an investor, and today I believe he will inspire you with his creativity, his intellect, and his unique perspectives. Man of the Year, Scott Massey.
I'm 29. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored to be named Man of the Year of City County Observer. However, this recognition really belongs to my talented team of individuals whose dedication and talent have made this achievement possible for us. I'm also blessed with a very supportive family, a loving girlfriend, and an unrelentless base of investors and institutions who believe in our mission of making healthier food accessible to all. Our city really has a proud history of rising to the occasion. Evansville's industrial strength was crucial in arming our nation and its allies to winning the great wars of the previous century. Today we're facing new challenges, a war for our health and our well-being. Unhealthy food systems are jeopardizing not only our current generation, but of those who are yet to be born, threatening their potential and quality of life. I'm confident that Evansville will once again rise to this occasion, this time to develop and manufacture the technologies that we need to grow healthier food within the communities that need it. Combating these food deserts, we believe Evansville is uniquely positioned to lead this new Victory Garden movement, ensuring nutrition security for all. At Anew, we are dedicated to empowering individuals and communities to sustainably grow pure produce that benefits people and the planet. Thank you to the City County Observer. Thank you, Ron and Marilyn, for recognizing and honoring this mission. Together, we can cultivate a healthier future. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, NASA calls that guy for questions and answers. NASA calls him. So, in our next portion, we have 3 Community Service Award winners. And while this isn't part of the program, Senator Thoms, you have a 2-minute limitation on your speaking. I've heard him speak a few times. We're going to keep him to 2 minutes, hopefully to keep it to 10. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2024 Community Service Award first goes to Senator Jim Thoms, to be presented by Johnny Kincaid.
Two minutes, that's it for me too. That's the problem with us people who, Jim Thoms, when I called him about this award, Jim reacted in such a humble way. As a person going, well, why would I be selected for this? And the answer to that is really simple. He's served our community and he's done his job. When you get elected into public, I am so glad, by the way, that Ryan Hatfield beat me for state representative in 2016, because Ryan showed that quality of showing up and doing his job. He was at all kinds of different community forums, and he would face his detractors and answer their questions. And that's what Jim Tom does as well. And seeing the two of them when they get together has been great, because there's this spark and this chemistry. They may not see eye to eye as far as the policies, but they understand how to be humane to one another. And that's what Jim Thoms has been. He's been humane. He takes tough stands on the issue of life. He's willing to take a stand there on the issue of guns. He's been a staunch supporter of the right to bear arms. And even when somebody wants to get in his face about how he believes about that, he hears them out. He does the job. He served for 14 years. And I am very proud to see him come to the stage to get this award. Please welcome Jim Thoms.
2 minutes. I got to tell you, this is a real honor to sit among such prestigious people up here and having such a wonderful audience like this. And Ron and Marilyn Cosby, thank you for all the work you've done in making journalism what it should be. And Johnny, thank you for all the work. It really is an honor, and I'm proud. I am going to miss Ryan. We've had a lot of good times in those Meet Your Legislator meetings, referred to as the Jerry Springer Show. It's not going to be much of a show without Jerry Springer. But he's the gentleman, and I've always enjoyed those meetings. We've had good times. And I think people did enjoy it. I think they come just to watch you and me go at it. But he was a good representative. He's going to make a great judge. This job as a Senate, for me, has been a real honor as well. It's interesting to be involved in the bill-making process and the committee meetings and the hearings on the floor and meeting all the people. But the biggest thing for me in this job as a senator has been the grace that God's given me to be in a position to help somebody that's up against the wall, pinned down, that needs help. That's the most important of this job, that as a legislator, and I get calls from all kind of people, all kind of issues. You pick a letter out of the alphabet, and I've had an issue that starts with that letter. The individuals that need help, that call, and I can answer that phone call, that email directly, every one of them, it is blessing from God that I can do that I'm in a position to open doors for somebody that needs help. And I can tell you, that's something I will never forget. I will never take for granted. It really is truly a blessing in this position as a state senator. And receive an award, that's very nice. It's nice to be recognized. But again, I thank all of you here that was responsible for this award for someone like me, and I'm grateful that I've had this opportunity as a senator for these 14 years. And I have enjoyed being with Ryan out there on the floor as well. Again, thank you very much for letting me be here and part of this program today, and God bless all of you. Thank you. This is a true story. About 18 months into my first term, I asked my staff to get constituent calls to me faster. There was a reason for that. If I didn't get a call within about an hour that a constituent had called with an issue and call that constituent back or go see them at their house, Jim Toms had already been there. Happened to me more than once. I'd show up at a door where I was going to check on a constituent who had called the office, and they'd say, "Oh, we don't need you anymore. Jim was just here." Ladies and gentlemen, the next Community Service Award winner will be presented by the very prestigious Mike Blake with 14 WFIE Midday with Mike to present the town's meteorologist, Jeff Lyons.
Thanks, Ryan, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, what prestigious. That's the first time I've been called that in a long time. Hey, I was told be brief, and I said, you remember who I followed for almost 18 years at 10 o'clock? A wonderful person named Marcia. I wrote the book on brief, so I'll be brief this afternoon. I've got the pleasure, folks, of introducing a dear friend and a guy that I admire very much, and we are very lucky, I think, to have. Thank God he stayed in this community. His name is Jeff Lyons, and for 36 years, he's been a household name as he brings you a very important information. News is important, but sometimes we get the fluff news. Sports is kind of the sandbox of a newscast, but the weather, it's numero uno, and it's become that. And this guy has, because of his talent and his personality, and he's got that inherent goodness, and he really cares about his job. And he's been doing it for such a long time that if he's telling you about a severe weather, a severe thunderstorm, or maybe a tornado warning or watch, he brings you in and he also calms you down. And along the way, over the years, he's made numerous presentations. He's done many shows, many programs pertaining to the weather. He has also taken his talent to civic groups, like the Rotary or you name it. He's probably spoken to it. He has also spoken to a lot of schools. He's great at educating the young people, and he's put together a wonderful team of meteorologists at 14. But more than that, and folks, we all, I think, are put here for a reason. I think God puts us where he wants us, and we're supposed to utilize those talents that maybe sometimes we don't even have. This guy realized his talents and automatically, from the time he started, has given back. And since 2000, he's been on the board of a wonderful organization, Evansville Arc. And because of his talent and some other people as well, they said, "Hey, Jeff, why don't we let's do a talent show to raise money for ARC." He's raised thousands and thousands of dollars in the 21 years that he did it. And I want to thank him for, back in the age when we were doing telethons, he came aboard and did, I think, at least 25 of the more than 40 that we did. Folks, like you, I'm the lead dinosaur in the news business. I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of talented people, have worked with talented people, very bright people, and this guy is as good as it gets. There are many people, perhaps in your professions as well, who are I don't want to say better than Evansville, but their talent could take them to many other cities, and they would do just as good a job. But I think this Rights grad, this IU grad, he came from Terre Haute many years ago, and are we ever glad he came home at Channel 14? Folks, I'm not kidding you. He's not only a great credit to the broadcasting profession and to TV and to giving us the weather, he's just a great credit to our community. And what a wonderful recipient for the Community Service Award for 2024. Folks, I give you Jeff Lyons.
Feel like we're doing the news right now, Mike. Still to come. Thank you so much. I'm really honored. I'm humbled. This came out of left field. When Johnny called me, I thought he was joking, for this civic award. I said, what did I do? And this all kind of came out of left field in my life. I never would have guessed that I would be doing the weather on Channel 14. I used to pretend to do it when I was a kid, but when I went to college, I had studied communications and went into television. In fact, I told my folks I wanted to go into television. They're like, great, you can fix the TV. And I said, no, I want to be on the TV. And that's how it turned out. And in my first job in Terre Haute, they needed a weather guy. And so they said, well, you look like a weather guy. Why don't you go over and do that? And so I was thrown into it. I determined pretty quickly that I needed to know what I was doing. And so I went back and did meteorology school in Terre Haute and then finished up here. And I've been so fortunate to be part of a great legacy station. And Mike Blake, gold standard here. So I had a lot of great role models to learn from in broadcasting. The one unintended thing, other than, of course, the weather day in, day out, was the connection that I would be to the community. I never really would have dreamed that I would have so many opportunities to hopefully make a difference, and a positive one at that, for kids and for people, viewers, to help them. And over time, at first it's all about just being on TV. We're all like that to start out with. But then you see the bigger picture, that you're part of the community and a part that people are turning to and trusting, and they need that information. So it's responsibility, and it's one that I am grateful for. I've learned so much from, and I look forward to continuing to serve in that capacity here in weather on Channel 14 and other places. It's great to actually see I assume you see me on TV, but we never see the viewers on our end of the camera. We just look into this glass thing. But it's always a treat to get out and see what's going on in the community and be a part of it. And this job has afforded me that. And this award, as I said, for City County Observer, really humbling. I didn't expect it. I probably don't deserve it, but I'm very appreciative nonetheless. And I want to thank all of you today for coming out and supporting me and all the people who care about our community and want to make it a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. And now, finally, our third Community Service Award goes to the Honorable Judge David Kiley. I'm so pleased to have an opportunity to tell you about my friend and someone who I have practiced in front of for many years, Vandenberg Circuit Court Judge David Kiley, with the final 2024 Community Service Award. After 26 years on the bench as a judge and magistrate, Judge David Kiley will retire at the end of this year. During his time on the bench, Judge Kiley expanded the courtroom from one magistrate to three, an important part of unclogging the backlog in our Vandenberg County courts. He spearheaded and created the electronic search warrant process for our county and has been awarded the James Bethel Gresham Freedom Award by the Evansville Bar Association. Judge Kiley will most likely be remembered for his role in creating the Vandenberg County Therapeutic Work Release Program and for creating the first Veterans Treatment Court in the state of Indiana. Due to the Veterans Treatment Court, veterans in the justice system in Southern Indiana receive assistance with veteran benefits and driver's licenses, receive mental health and substance abuse treatment, as well as receive assistance with housing recovery and work to learn skills to lead a positive lifestyle. Ladies and gentlemen, Vandenberg Circuit Court Judge David Kiley, Community Service.
Marilyn, Ron, the rest of the paper, thank you so much for this award, but most importantly, thank you for being fair in that paper. Can't say that about the other ones in this community. The 26 years I was sitting up here and I was looking out in this audience, and the number of faces that I've worked with over those 26 years, there's numerous of you out here. I just want to say thank you, because in those 26 years, we've made a difference. Our criminal justice system's better, our community's better because of the work we all did together, so I thank you very much. And then Ryan, I'm finished. Yes.
Let me thank the editor, Johnny Kincaid, and Ron and Marilyn. Thank you for your service to this community through the CCO. While I can't say that it was always a pleasure to read for me, I did appreciate reading it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the 2024 City County Observer Community Service Awards. Thank you to our recipients. Have a safe drive home. Thank you.